Hi, I'm Carl Azus, and welcome to CNN 10. It's always good to see you. A growing number of countries around the world are grounding a popular type of passenger plane, and that's the first story we're explaining. On Sunday, an Ethiopian Airlines flight crashed shortly after takeoff in the capital of Ethiopia. All 157 people aboard were killed. It happened less than 6 months after an incident on October 29th, when a Lion Air flight crashed shortly after takeoff in the capital of Indonesia. All 189 people aboard that flight were killed. The one thing these two flights have in common is that they were aboard new models of the same airplane, a Boeing 737 MAX 8. It was introduced 2 years ago. It's a very technologically advanced jet, and it might be that technology that's causing its problems.
Boeing bills its 737 MAX as the fastest selling airplane in the company's history. A high-tech single-aisle jet. There are more than 5,000 on order for 100 airlines worldwide. Many of them are in China and India. The 737 has a long history, since the first twin-jet baby Boeing was introduced in 1967. It's grown into the best-selling line of commercial jets in history. The MAX 8 variant, launched in 2017, seats up to 200 passengers. It was designed to offer airlines greater range and better fuel efficiency than the models that came before. Like any new series, Boeing introduced brand new technology and features into the 737 series, including the automatic safety system.
This particular aircraft has something new as far as how the autopilot responds when the angle of attack, when the aircraft nose goes up too high, it pushes that nose down, even when the autopilot's off. And a lot of pilots aren't used to that.
In the case of Lion Air, Indonesian investigators say pilots repeatedly fought to override that system before the fatal crash of the plane back in October. The preliminary crash report said faulty sensors led the automated system to push the nose of the plane down again and again. It's not clear why the pilots did not follow the recognized procedure and turn the system off. Now this crash, the second in a brand new model plane, shortly after takeoff. It's provoking more questions about the plane's design and what Boeing has told the airlines.
The CEO of Ethiopian Airlines says the pilot had flight control problems shortly before the plane crashed. But both accidents involving this Boeing model are under investigation, and there's no evidence at this point that the same problem caused them. Still, countries from Australia to China to the European Union and India have grounded the 737 MAX 8 airplanes, making it illegal for them to fly in or over these nations. According to the Reuters news organization, Boeing says it's been developing a software update for the plane that's, quote, designed to make an already safe aircraft even safer. The U.S. Federal Aviation Administration also said earlier this week that the aircraft is safe, though it has ordered Boeing to make some design changes to it. Some U.S. senators are now saying the FAA should temporarily ground it until it's proven airworthy. The U.S. and Canada are the only two countries where substantial numbers of these planes are still flying. The United States government is trying to keep American wireless companies and countries around the world from buying telecommunications equipment made by a Chinese company named Huawei. This is the world's largest telecom manufacturer. It's taken such a lead in developing 5G wireless technology that many carriers can't replace it. 5G is said to be many times faster and more reliable than 4G. China and Huawei have denied doing anything wrong, but the U.S. says Huawei has connections to Chinese government intelligence and that Huawei's equipment could allow China to potentially spy on people who use it. It's not just civilian security the U.S. is concerned about.
Hidden beneath this vast, snowy prairie land in central Montana are more than 100 nuclear-armed intercontinental ballistic missiles, ready for launch. It's desolate terrain, but vital to American national security, which experts worry could face a threat from China. This fenced-in area is a missile silo, controlled by Malmstrom Air Force Base. Right next to it, a cell tower belonging to a company called Triangle Communications System. It's an American company, but its network uses radio transmitters and receivers made by the Chinese company Huawei. a telecom giant that has been called a national security risk by U.S. intelligence officials.
We're deeply concerned about the risks of allowing any company or entity that is beholden to foreign governments that don't share our values to gain positions of power inside our telecommunications networks.
Given the power of the Chinese government over Chinese companies, experts say the Huawei technology could be weaponized by Beijing.
If they asked Huawei, turn off the phones, tell us what people are doing, scramble the data going over it, block calls, make random phone calls, there's nothing we could really do to stop that.
These bases use encrypted communications, but valuable intelligence could be gathered on the people working with the ICBMs. And the area could also be targeted with network attacks. There's no evidence that anything like this has happened, but CNN has identified dozens of cell phone towers equipped with Huawei technology, some dispersed among the Malmstrom nuclear missile fields.
ICBMs are supposed to be pretty hard. That might not be easy to do, but that doesn't mean our opponents won't try and figure out if they can do it.
Areas like this are so remote that often the only cell phone service comes from small networks. Unlike major carriers like Verizon and AT&T, smaller companies depend on government subsidies, and many buy cheaper equipment made by Chinese companies like Huawei. While the company is barred from U.S. government contracts and federal employees can't use their devices, rural carriers have no such restrictions. The companies that own these towers are part of the Rural Wireless Association, who say a quarter of their members buy Huawei because it's far cheaper and say it would cost up to $1 billion to replace. The Pentagon would not say what kind of relationship, if any, it has with these carriers, but Acting Defense Secretary Patrick Shanahan told CNN in a statement they are working closely with our industrial and research partners to develop comprehensive and innovative solutions for both the department and commercial industries.
10-second trivia. Which of these American universities is the oldest? Wake Forest, Georgetown, Stanford, or the University of Southern California? The oldest university here, and the only one on this list that was founded in the 1700s, is Georgetown. 50 people across the United States have been formally charged with cheating to get students into highly respected colleges. The FBI's criminal investigation was called Operation Varsity Blues. It covers crimes allegedly committed between 2011 and 2019, and it led to the arrests of athletic coaches, SAT and ACT administrators, and dozens of parents. What they're accused of doing is helping students cheat on college entrance exams like the SAT and paying some sports coaches to say certain students should be admitted to their colleges because the students were good athletes, even when they weren't. In some cases, this involved creating fake athletic profiles for students to make them look like good athletes. Prosecutors say the cheating was carried out mostly without the students' knowledge, according to ABC News, and that it was done to get them into schools like Yale, Georgetown, Stanford, and the University of Southern California, among others. The interim president of USC called it immensely disappointing that school employees would allegedly abuse their positions in this way. A U.S. attorney involved in the investigation said for every student admitted through fraud, an honest, genuinely talented student was rejected. U.S. officials say this was the largest college cheating scam the federal government has ever prosecuted. When you see this winterized car for the first time, don't be fooled. It's no Mustang. It's Snow Mustang. A Nebraska state trooper found this and shared it on social media, saying that while some people make snowmen, in this part of the country they make snow cars. The officer even gave it a ticket, a fake one, of course, for being double parked. Apparently, a local businessman and his kids formed this frosty Ford. Forget 5.0, it's a 5-point snow. It's a cold weather curbside car you can't tow. Only where it's chillin' could you shape one if you're willin', but there's no way to be tellin' when your sculpture will be melted. So, if you're gonna make one, it has to be a fake one. You'd be sure to break one if you ever tried to take one. It's a truly cool vehicle that no one's gonna seize, and maintenance is easy cause it needs no antifreeze. I'm Carl Azus on the loose for CNN.